Hello, everyone. My name is Kendall, and I'm the communications assistant here at the center. And yeah, so I'm usually the one doing these interviews. If you've come to them before, you might recognize me. Yeah, but we'll just get started then, I think. So I'll just today we're going to be talking about mindfulness. And obviously, Mariann Johnson is our guest today. And so, Mariann, why don't I just have you introduce yourself instead of me trying to do it?
Great. Well, really happy to be here with Kendall. She's a terrific asset to the center, so really nice to be able to do this with you. Again, my name is Mariann Johnson. I am a well-being and mindfulness instructor for the Earl E Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing. This month marks my 1-year anniversary as a staff person here, although I have been worked with the center in kind of an adjunct capacity for maybe even 10 years. Teaching mindfulness-based stress reduction, helping with the Mindfulness at Work program, and some mindful leadership things as well. And a primary function of mine since I've been here this past year is to help again with a Mindfulness at Work online program. And we've also developed a new leadership program called Wellbeing Leadership for Physician and Healthcare Professionals, which has just been a wonderful leadership retreat series I've been involved in. And I also teach a number of courses in business and community settings and provide keynotes and things like that.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess would you say then that kind of your primary area of expertise is mindfulness?
Yes, definitely mindfulness. Yeah. Well-being is kind of a secondary area. Dr. Mary Jo Kreitzer, our founder, is really our center expert in that, but I assist in that area. But really, yeah, mindfulness is my area. I'm a certified MBSR instructor from Brown University. I got my original training at University of Massachusetts, which was founded by John Kabat-Zinn a number of years ago. Yeah, so, and then I have had, most importantly, I think, my own personal mindfulness practice for many, many years.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess when talking about mindfulness then, could you just maybe give a brief description of kind of what it is yeah, just kind of what it is.
Yeah, that's a really good place to start, Kendall, because mindfulness is kind of ubiquitous. Like everybody talks about it, you see it here and there, and I think it's really nice to ground ourselves in a common definition. And so that's a cool place to start. And simply said, it's about being aware of the present moment. And you might think, well, that's not so hard. I'm aware of the present moment all the time. But in reality, for most of us, if we stop to take a look, and there's a lot of research out there that verifies this as well, over 50 to 60% of the time, when we stop to notice, our mind is generally wandering. It's not right here, right now. And it's either wandering to the past, where we're reliving something that's long gone, or it's leaning into the future and we're pre-living something that hasn't even come into being. Both of those, either there or there, can cause anxiety and rumination, which can lead over time to depression. And there's nothing wrong, I want to be really clear, on thinking about the past and learning from it or planning. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when we're doing those things, the intentionality of consciously being aware of and choosing to do that is what's really powerful. So mindfulness gives us an opportunity to train our brain, our mind, our heart. Not unlike you want to get strong, you go to the gym or work out. Kendall and I both downhill ski, so skiing counts.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, that's like physical activity, we can get strong. We can also strengthen the capacity of our brain to be more intentional and more focused and more aware. And also in doing so, add a sense of ease in our life and reduce our stress. The research tells us that when people feel they're all hands on deck, that they're able to really be in the present moment, regardless of the circumstances, they report a greater sense of ease and comfort in their life, which is pretty cool.
So what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Yeah.
Or are they the same?
Well, that's really good. That's a great question. Mindfulness is an innate capacity that we all have to be present, to be here right now, all hands on deck, the expression I used earlier. And it's also a skill that we can learn. One of the ways to develop that skill is through meditation, because with meditation, we pay attention to a singular object. And because the breath is always in the present moment and the body's always in the present moment, that's a great tool to use. So we'll oftentimes start with body awareness, maybe listening to sound, or our breath, watching our breath come and go. And then when the mind wanders, our attention wanders, I should say, which frequently happens. Another misnomer about meditation that, it completely eliminates our thoughts and we bliss out. It's quite different. And actually, I would say more significant is that we learn a new relationship with being with our thoughts, a new relationship with being with our stress. So rather than over-identifying with and feeding those thoughts and building them, we learn to recognize a thought as simply, for example, a thought. And we let it go in meditation. We learn how to train the mind to do this, to see it like a cloud passing in the sky without having to over-identify with it or feed it. And then we come back again to the breath or to sound or to whatever it is we're giving our focused attention to. And in doing so, we build that muscle of mindfulness. Every time the attention wanders away from our object, breath, body, sound, and we choose in that moment with some kindness and some curiosity to bring it back, that builds that muscle of mindfulness. One last thing I'd say is, in a definition that's frequently used by Jon Kabat-Zinn and others, it's not only do we cultivate this present moment awareness, but we do it with an attitude of curiosity, and also with some kindness. The term Jon Kabat-Zinn likes to use is non-judgmental attitude. That doesn't mean you're never going to have a judgment again in your life. What it does mean is that when our mind wanders and we notice we're caught in some story, we don't immediately think we're the worst meditator in the world, right? We don't judge the fact that our minds wandered, and we also try as best we can not to judge the content. We just let it go, just as a thought, cloud in the sky, and then we come back again. So it's intention. There's an intentionality when we're practicing mindfulness. We have attention that we're focusing on, and we have attitude. So those three elements. Now, I've just mentioned a formal practice of meditation that we can cultivate that mindfulness with, but there's also endless opportunities throughout the day to also build that muscle of mindfulness. And what's really cool about that can just be you and I talking right now. Am I really paying attention to you and being present to you, listening to what you're saying, being involved here? That could be an act of mindfulness. If I don't have a cup here, but I just saw you had one, you're drinking a cup of tea or water or something. Yeah, really being present to the sensations of holding the mug, drinking the beverage and swallowing it and allowing your attention just to rest with that. You're walking up and down the steps at home, because most of us are at home now, feel the feet in contact with the floor. So if your mind's wandering, just give yourself, there's a neuroscientist at UCLA, his name is Dan Siegel. He says practicing mindfulness formally or informally, in these many ways I'm telling you right now, gives the brain a break, right? It just gives it an opportunity to rest in present moment awareness, which for many people, again, can have a calming effect rather than our brain and our thoughts racing all over the place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. So, kind of like in terms of what we do at the center then, what kinds of mindfulness programs do you lead at the center?
I do a number of things. And right now, as you know, because we're all online, we're experimenting with moving just about everything online right now. And we used to do something called Stress Busters, which was an hour-long program over noon that people would attend in our meditation room, which is a relatively small room, but we would get, 25 to 50 people. And now we're doing that every Tuesday. I'm doing that online every Tuesday for an hour. We do mindful movement, really simple, slow, mindful movement, not aerobic exercise. It's meant to be mindful. So like Qigong and yoga postures for about 20 minutes. And then we do a guided meditation for the remainder of the time, sometime for Q&A. I do that every Tuesday at noon, and that's free. So anyone that's interested in that can go to our website and sign up for that. Then I also teach, I monitor the Mindfulness at Work online program, and I was also an instructor with Alex Haley on that, so you'll see my videos and us engaging in that. I also teach MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, and we just finished our first ever online MBSR course at the university.
Cool.
Yeah, really well. So I'm excited about that. We're just trying to do whatever we can. I also help with the webinars that we do, and they're free now. As much as we can, we're trying to get out into the community and offer these resources, because we know this is a difficult time for everybody, whether you're a student or a community worker or work in local businesses or at home full time, it doesn't matter. We're all experiencing a certain level of anxiety, given the uncertainty and unpredictability of this pandemic. So we're trying to, as much as we can, spread well-being information and including tools of mindfulness.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, and so I guess like, I don't know if it's well, I know, but we can tell our audience if it's different right now during the pandemic with everything being online versus like how things are more normally. But who can participate in these classes and this programming? Is it for everyone? Is it for health professionals? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool question. I think everything that I just mentioned to you, anyone could take. You could be a student, you can be a healthcare professional. The only program, Well-Being Leadership for Healthcare Professionals, you have to be a healthcare professional to take that one for now. Although we're building out that programming, so it'll be a leadership development for anybody who wants to take it. But I'm going to put that over, my hands are moving, I'm going to put that over here for now. But all our other programs, anyone can take. The Stress Busters, I have people from students to retired people that are members of the alumni, friends of mine who work at local corporations. I find on it every once in a while they're sending me a sweet little note. So the Stress Busters has a very large and diverse population, and we have, 200 to 300 people on that Tuesdays now, so that's pretty big. And MBSR classes, the same. Anyone could take those. Mindfulness at work, although it's called Mindfulness at Work. People take that who aren't full-time employed right now because it's just such a robust blend of mindfulness and well-being information. And again, it's all self-directed and self-paced.
Right. So what do you think is unique about the center's mindfulness programming?
Well, what I really like, there's many things that I like about the center and that I think are unique. One is that we are really careful about providing evidence-based information. So when we're talking about the research, for example, that's associated with mindfulness, sometimes I read everything in the world, can be touched with mindfulness. And I think we need to be careful when we cite research and what the research really tells us. And we know, for example, that it reduces stress, it enhances overall well-being, and it can increase our resiliency. There have been other very specific studies which have demonstrated other things. So, for instance, enhanced sleep, and it's had some positive impact on people with cardiac issues and things like that. But the one that we know for sure that there's a lot of data around tends to be stress reduction, resiliency, well-being, and also a perceived sense of a reduction in pain. We don't get rid of the pain with mindfulness, but it can help with that. I would say that, so that's unique in that we're evidence-based. I also love the fact that we also integrate well-being aspects in addition to just mindfulness, so that we have a more holistic approach, I would say, to the instruction of mindfulness as well. So those are just a couple of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, so one of the questions I wanted to ask was about kind of the research behind mindfulness. And so you started to touch on that, but I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I'll just say that now there are, I'm not a researcher, but I'll tell you from my own experience that, and of course, my own research and developing programs, that there is over 30 years of mindfulness research now. Most of that research, the early research in particular, but I would still say the bulk of that research is based on the mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSR program. And that's an 8-week program, so it's got a really nice pre and then post evaluation you can do, and there are many different ways that people do the research. But the research there shows us that over an 8-week period of time with the MBSR program, that we see, so it doesn't mean that I've been practicing for a year and, I go away to a cave and, I'm isolated. What it means is everyday people like you and me and everybody else can take an 8-week program, and for practicing an average of about a half hour a day, sometimes more than that, we notice a reduction in stress, those increased factors of stress resiliency, and people report enhanced sense of well-being. We tell people never go off your meds when you're taking our course, but people do anecdotally talk about that enhanced sense of well-being and less anxiety and positive impact on states of depression that they'd had previously. So it doesn't take those things away. Again, it allows us. Mindfulness is a great adjunct to medical care, for example, with pain as well. The initial studies in MBSR were actually done on physical pain, and it's been proved to be have great benefit, the practice of mindfulness in reducing pain in people. Not the actual pain, but their perception of it, and learning actually to live much more full lives with pain due to the practice of mindfulness.
That's cool. Yeah, and I guess kind of some, and also first I want to mention that if you're in our audience right now, and I mentioned this earlier, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask those in the questions below. Sorry, a really loud thing just went by my house. But if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below, or if you're watching this later, reach out with any questions you have. Anyway, my question though, and it's kind of like maybe a little bit personal, but I think a lot of people can relate to this, is that I, like, as a really anxious person, like, try to practice mindfulness and like do it in my daily life, but I just forget, or like I'll just be tired and not feel like doing it even though I know it's good for me. How do you like motivate yourself to actually do it?
That is such a great question. And I think that's the most difficult part, is remembering to practice it or incorporating it in your life. The actual act of mindfulness meditation is not, well, the first thing I would say is incorporate it into your daily life. So those everyday mindfulness things that you can do when you're walking, when you're talking to someone, when you're eating, any activity can be used to bring your present moment, and many moments, many times throughout the day can also build that muscle of mindfulness. But a formal practice can be really helpful, because that's where we begin to see the neurological changes actually in the brain. You know, that this repeated practice helps strengthen those new neural pathways because of the plasticity of the brain. We can actually have a stronger impact perhaps with a regular meditation practice. So I think it's helpful to start small. This notion of I have to sit for an hour, you know, start with 5 minutes, start with 2 minutes, with just being with your breath can be a really powerful experience. Also, the research tells us whenever we're learning a new practice, if we can kind of tag team it with something that's positive, something that we enjoy doing, that we're already doing. So for example, if you get up every morning and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, maybe just right after you have your coffee, if you find that pleasant, or your tea, then you sit down and you would meditate. And someone the other day, as a matter of fact, it was a student on a mindfulness webinar that we did, kind of a stress reduction webinar for students, said that her therapist told her to sandwich, which I thought was just terrific. I don't know if you heard this webinar or not, but it was sandwich the thing that you're learning that's a new practice that you really want to get better at between two positive things. So you would do it, put it right smack dab in the middle. I think it's also, for me personally, when I practice my meditation first thing in the morning, it's a little bit easier for me. And it can be for some people, but other people have a different time. But I actually put it, you know, like we put important appointments on our iPhones or in our calendars, whatever we use. I would put your meditation in there. Schedule it in as just as an important thing. And the worst thing to do is to add coulds and shoulds to your practice. Oh, I'm so bad because I'm not, you know, let all that go. Let the caring for yourself be the inspiration to sit down and meditate. Let the goodness of the benefit of any practice drive the practice. Is that helpful?
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. Thank you. I've been trying to put it on my calendar too. I think that's helping. But.
And the last thing I'll say is meditating with other people, having a buddy system can be really helpful. So if you know someone that's also interested, and even in our stay-at-home time here, email each other. You know, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit. You want to sit with me tomorrow? And that's big, big. And then you know that you got a buddy that's doing it with you.
Mm-hmm.
Adds a kind sense of accountability to it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I would just, well, I guess I am going to say something. So I guess I would. Just say that I would go simple, slow, and easy and kind to yourself. The most important thing I think is to be patient and kind. Like any other habit, you want to learn how to play a violin or learn a new language. We know that that takes some time to develop. So go patient and slow. Find a buddy, maybe more than one person to practice with regularly. That support, I think, can be really helpful. And the good news is that there are so many resources on the center's website that people have free access to. And you can just Google on their guided meditation, and there'll be some free guided meditation for you and some things to listen to and all our programming. So please use our many resources to help you get it
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, if you're watching this now or later, please feel free to reach out with any like further questions that you have about anything we talked about or about the programming we offer at the center in general. And then I just wanted to mention one more thing unrelated to mindfulness is that we have our, well, maybe slightly related, our health coaching application deadline has been extended for the fall 2020 cohort. So the application deadline is now July 15th. So if you're thinking about your plans post-graduation or anything like that, that is a really cool option that you should definitely look into. So that's on our website. If you just go to z.umn.edu/HC, that will come up with all of our health coaching information. We have 3 different programs. Yeah, and again, we also have a lot of free webinars like the ones that Marianne has been mentioning, and so just keep an eye out for those on our website. We add them all the time. Yeah, and so thank you so much for joining us today, and we will be back next week with another Instagram live. I think, yeah, there's one next week, so make sure to tune in. But yeah, thank you, Marianne.
Oh, thank you, Kendall. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you in one of our programs. Bye-bye.
Bye.